Was that noise the Wraith?
Yeah.
I think so. Well, howdy. Welcome back to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. How are y'all doing, Sarah and Jay?
I'm doing good.
My life is a nightmare. It's just one horrible moment after another. You're just being polite.
There is hope. We have hope on the horizon.
I feel like my life force is being sucked through my chest by you, basically. No, I'm fine. You were just being polite when you didn't really want to know how I am. I got a dog, by the way. Hi.
We're about to say, yeah. Is it a new dog or is it an old one?
That's my friend's dog. I'm staying with my friends at the moment. So it's Paddy. But if I leave him out of the room, he barks constantly. So he's with me. Anyway, now he wants to see what he's doing. Hello. What's going on? Yo.
Hey, hello, Patty. I think we're all fans of Patty already.
Cute dog.
Yeah, he's a good dog. Except for the barking. You might die. Hadn't you? If you bark one more freaking time. The guilt. He doesn't care. Anyway.
JJ says he's just talking. You know.
Yeah, what he's saying is, open the door and let me in. Stop locking me out of your room. Let me in. That's what he's saying.
He's conducting chemical warfare.
Yeah, but if you see a brown fuzzy thing sort of appear at the bottom of my screen, it's the dog.
Ah, okay.
Not my penis. Dog.
Well, on that note, something that is terrifying is the Wraith.
Yes. Oh, good segue. That was a good segue, mate. How come my penis and the Wraith? How did you make that connection?
I went for terrifying. I almost went the sucking route, but I was like, let's go the.
You know, I've not been on a live in a couple of weeks. Have you missed me?
Never. Always.
Do you want to go down now?
Never always.
Well, okay. So our topic today is what are the best villains in all of Stargate, and we are saying today the Wraith, and I think we're gonna do this probably a couple times to kind of gauge out who the actual best villains are. We'll do like a whole series where we kind of like argue about, okay, so this is how this species is the best villain, so on and so forth. We're gonna start with the Wraith because we've kind of been talking about Stargate Atlantis, and we have a Stargate Atlantis charity stream coming on the 18th, y'all.
Yeah.
So come hang out with us. Besides that, we've got a little bit of a message from Matt that explains what his thoughts are. And I think that's probably a good spot to begin whenever we enter. But just initial thoughts on why the Wraith are the best villains. What do y'all think?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to tell us what Matt's thing was. I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll jump into her right here. He says the Wraith are the best because they're not inherently evil. They're just acting on survival instinct, and he won't be on, but someone can use that, which of course we have. There's an argument to be made as they evolved and gained more civilized status that it became more of a choice, especially as their tech tree expanded. But objectively, they're just bugs that needed food. Also, they evolved past the point of just using humans as food and made them their slaves, granting them eternal use.
That's great.
So,
what do you want to do?
Patty and Maddie.
This is very unprofessional, but he doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. What do you want to do?
Where I just saw space vampires. There we go. Arnold saying space vampires, no messy blood on mouth, fist bump, no handshake. Damn right. The whole vampire is cool. It's cool. Scary and cool. I just made up a new word that it's also an old word. Okay. What Matt is essentially saying, I guess, if I had to sum it up, would be the Wraith started off as inherently not being evil, and over time they chose to be evil.
They go. Anything that goes is genuinely evil.
Pretty bad.
I mean, I think that's genuinely that's like sign language for I'm evil.
They're bugs, right? They like part bug.
They're parasites. The Eratus, the Eratus dog.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So unprofessional, this dog. I really have to teach him how to. Anyway, I taught Harris how to be professional. I can teach the dog. What do you want?
It took a while. I mean, I'm still working on it too.
Americans, you got to teach them slowly. Sarah, I'll work on you next.
But yeah, so what are y'all thinking? Does their evilness come from being just like literally an insect?
I'm going to see if he wants to go out. Maybe that's it. But yes, I was. Sarah, you have your
so professional today. I can't believe it. Let's see. What do I think about the Wraith? I think they're definitely like the scariest villains in all of Stargate. You know, they're very creepy and sucking your life force is pretty scary. And, you know, as I'm only here to, you know, for your life force. Anyway, yeah, they're just kind of creepy and scary, and the teeth and the, you know, they can suck the life force out of you, put it back into you. It's kind of, yeah. I don't know if there's any other. I mean, the Goa'uld, they just have the power to kill you, basically, or take you as a host. But
yeah,
sucking your life force is pretty bad. So
the Goa'uld are just parasites in general, where it's like the Wraith are parasites that manage to evolve, and now I got animals fiddling with my door over here. But okay, but like the Wraith essentially started off similar to the Goa'uld, and they are literally a bug-like, I guess Goa'uld are not insect, but they're all parasites in their own way. So they're this bug-like kind of entity that has evolved. Goa'uld evolved through using other beings. The Wraith as well, but the Wraith managed to do so by actually evolving the parasite that they are, which is really weird and wild and just sci-fi as hell, and that's always fun. But in doing so, I guess, especially what Matt was pointing out, the whole pointing out the eternal youth aspect of them, and what the Stanleys are saying, that the Wraith are pretty much immortal. I think whenever they truly became an evil species and an entity in general, and leaned into that, would have been when, hey, we can feed off anybody, anything, but these more intellectual beings that feel fear on a heightened scale, they're tasty. Let's go after them. Oh, wait, we actually can essentially become immortal and have that fountain of youth if you go after them as well.
That's
and to continue to do it.
Yeah.
Were they ever cruel?
Yes.
Because I mean, that was the thing. That's like cats, right? So to use an analogy, cats are evil, right? I think we can all agree. Dogs, lovely. Cats, evil. But the reason why they're evil is because they will kill for fun, and they play with their food, and they think we're the pet, which is ironic. Literally, you come home with a dog, and the dog's just like, I love you so much. Where have you been? I love you so much. A cat comes in and just go, give me my food, and off. And that's what cats are. So cats are evil. The Wraith, were the Wraith ever cruel? Because that's the difference, isn't it? It's like they're feeding off us because they're an animal. They need to feed. They're only really evil if they become cruel, and do it almost like for fun. And some of the stuff the Wraith did was evil. It was like for fun.
I agree.
You know, they were cruel about it. They enjoyed it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
they tend to play with their food occasionally.
Yeah, they torture people by, like, you know, sucking away and giving back their life force, and people become like addicted to the enzyme or something.
Yeah,
and they would use that. They would get people addicted to.
Well, like that one colony of people where that would probably be their least cruel and kind of most cruel at the same time, is turning their own species against one another. When that one colony that is all just being fed, and I guess they can go eat human food too, so they go hang out and do that stuff, and they're like, hey, well, we're all right as long as you feed us.
Yeah. And they were sort of they used the humans to sort of like, well, you just give me your weak and your criminals, didn't they? And we'll feed off them, sort of thing, and we'll protect it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was when there was only all the other Wraith weren't awake, were they? There was just like there was a much smaller number of Wraiths that could get away with it.
Yeah.
If you actually think about that, humanity was the sort of the bad guy in Stargate Atlantis. Here's a theory. So the Wraith were asleep when we turned up, and we attacked them basically and woke them up, and then we spent 5 years killing as many of them as we could get anywhere near. All the Wraith were trying to do was have breakfast. Really, it's just like. If anyone was the cruel ones, it was us. So the best bad guy in Stargate was humanity.
Well,
oh man, that's so deep. Oh.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, nonetheless, you toss some Janai in there, and you add all the varying factors, and there's always a pretty easy, I guess, route to take to reach that conclusion. Because humans, we're fun. We can be kind of shitty. A little bit of both. A lot of bit of both.
Yeah.
The Wraith at least have a reason to be shitty. We don't have a reason to be shitty. We're cruel to each other sometimes for absolutely no reason.
Very true.
At least the Wraith do it for food.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue the Goa'uld, they were cruel because they were so egocentric and they considered us a lower being, and the Wraith just considered us food. If you're going to say that the Wraith were evil, you can say, well, look what we do to our cattle. Look what we do to, and we're sometimes really cruel to our food. It's like the Spanish have basically got rules about how to be cruel to your food. There's specific ways to do it. But things like bloody what's that meat? Is it veal? You slice the sheep's thing and hang it by its feet until it bleeds out, so you get nice white meat.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
No.
You can argue the Wraith are no worse than us.
Well, of course. I would devil's advocate the Goa'uld aspect of it, where they kind of it is kind of a tragedy in a way, because they have to come at us out of necessity to actually be able to function. Otherwise, they're literally just swimming in ponds of water, where the Wraith can choose to go eat a deer or go eat any like warm-blooded animal, and realistically, and they choose to come after human for the cruelty aspect of it, because of the delicious little fear that we have whenever we're being eaten. Which is just demented saying, but it's fun to say at the same time. They're purposefully evil. Where I don't think, obviously, Todd and Michael in different ways show where they don't have to be. And I think Todd's probably the best example of that, because Viva Todd. Todd's the best. But Michael shows even whenever they become more human, it doesn't really change their thought process all that much. It might even strengthen their resolve to be, for lack of a better term, shitty. They just go further into it.
I say, are you sure that the Wraith can feed on other animals?
Yeah, they talk about it.
I don't know.
I know they can eat food, but they don't get any nourishment from it once they're adult.
No, I mean, I didn't know they could. Because they're human-like, because they feed off our DNA, aren't they? That's how they became human-like. Because they started off as a bug, didn't they? And they basically absorb our DNA and become things. I'm not 100% certain they feed, or they can feed off other animals. I think they can only feed off humans. But I haven't watched Stargate Atlantis in probably 18 months, and I've only watched it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Life Force? I think
I
think they prefer humans.
Yeah.
But I think they can take from an animal, like,
because we see them eat food.
Measures kind of thing.
We see them eat food, but they say they don't take, like Sarah said, they don't take any nourishment from it.
Right. They just do it for like pleasure.
Yeah. So I think they need to eat humans. In which case they're not evil at all.
Well, the first thing on whenever you Google it is that they can feed off of whatever, but they get their best nourishment out of humans. So
That'll be a genetic thing, because they're probably genetically, whatever, and
inclined towards.
There you go. Okay.
Like a bee trying to pollinate a specific flower or something. They've just kind of grown accustomed to eating us. Like it is their best thing. They can eat other things, but I mean, vampire.
Like us drinking cow's milk. It's like, we like it. But ever think that drinking cow's milk is really disgusting, but drinking human milk we consider to be right. So I'm not going to pick on Sarah now because you're a girl. But say I had a pregnant friend and she milked, and I went, "Can I have some milk for my tea?" That would be disgusting.
It'd be, or you have a weird kink.
It would be weird, right? But you go milk a cow. Oh, nom, lovely. If you think about it, it's really weird that we drink cow's milk.
Yeah.
Or goat's milk, any of them.
Or goat's milk, or anything, cheese, or all that stuff. But if I was to if my wife was feeding our baby, and I went, if you can spare a drop, that would be weird, right? I've run out of milk. If you could spare a drop just for me cuppa, people would kick off, wouldn't they? They'd be like, "You're disgusting. What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, but the cow is fine.
The funny thing is, and to completely off topic, we don't need to go down the thing just because we're just talking about it right now. During the whole Rona, the pandemic, while it was going on the ladies who had been pregnant, who had not been, I guess I don't want to use any keywords to get us frickin' flagged, so jabbed is the easy word for that. They were selling their breast milk to people that would buy it as like, not antidotes, but like an actual natural remedy or antithesis to keep you from getting sick.
There's antibodies in it.
It worked. Like actually, it was insane.
No, it didn't.
Well, it did, but it was interesting. But
well, let's go with it didn't. But I've seen no scientific evidence to support your theory.
Antigens, but yeah. Anyway,
that's weird. But
it would be the same
go
thing.
Back to the cow thing, right?
Yeah.
If I drink a pint of milk out of my fridge, that's fine. But if I go and suck the milk directly out of the source, that becomes weird, right? Where's the line? At what point would me sucking on a cow's nipple to get milk become wrong? Where's the line? If I milked the cow and then drank it, that'd be fine, though, wouldn't it? Right, out of a glass.
Well, if it's your cow, I say go for it.
If it's my cow, is that what his problem? I can suck it out directly out of the cow as long as it's my cow. Okay, I just need to know the rules. Check the rules.
Lips on nips is the line. There you go, Stanley's.
Yes,
Looking out of the
that's what I was thinking. Putting your mouth there, that's I mean, I don't know. What about like squirting it directly?
Yeah. I did try to milk a bull once, popcorn power. It got very angry at me.
It got very angry.
Yeah. Then it liked me by the end, but early on it was confused and angry. You've missed me, right? You've missed me. Come on.
I got a story for after. I don't want to start bringing it up because we'll get derailed for 30 minutes. But Stormy after the frickin' this past Sunday, there's some funny stuff. It's an in-house joke that everybody would enjoy, but it would derail us for too long.
When Stormy gets going. Mark, I got implied consent. It didn't tell me to stop. So it's implied consent.
Good evening, Juliet. We apologize for our current topic already.
Yes, let's get back to the Wraith. So if you milk a Wraith.
So we need to have rabbit go along the bottom when we go off and put rabbits.
Wait, would female Wraith milk, I guess? Would they get, because they're technically human, or would that be more insectoid? I don't know. That's a bad thought.
I just said it as a stupid joke to get us back towards the Wraith. I mean, thinking about it. I wonder where
Don't
the
give us a
nipples
lot
are.
of details. You know.
Yeah. Probably squirts out the butt like a spider. But anyway, like it's not out of the butt actually. It's out of an organ just above the butt. But we'll let's move on. Where were we? What were we talking about? So
Wraith essentially milking the life force of people and other mammals, etc., etc.
Well, here's the question then. So we're talking about evil, but also let's switch it to what's the bigger threat? Is it the Wraith or is it one of the other villains from thing? Because I mean, I think the only thing that's like comes close to being the bigger threat to humanity is the replicators. The Goa'uld aren't really as big a threat because they only take one host and there's not that many of them.
Mm-hmm. And they rely on technology and otherwise, or they're just normal people with the bugs.
They just more want to be worshipped. They don't really want to kill us all.
No.
The Wraith want it. The Wraith don't really want to kill us all either. They just want to kill enough of us to feed, and then they want, and then they go to sleep, don't they, while the population recovers, and then they kill us again.
Well, you bring up a really good point with the replicator aspect of it, because I mean that'll be a future best villains of Stargate kind of thing, of course, that we can go over. But the Wraith are essentially
in the garden barking. I'll just be back.
They're essentially natural replicators. The Asgard kept cloning themselves. The Wraith keep cloning themselves, but they clone themselves and also, I guess, continue to breed just on a lesser basis. They're nothing but replicators in a just more natural sense, and their ships are living beings, kind of extensions of their species as well.
Yeah. So they fly giant bugs in space. No.
Yeah, giant space whale bugs. It's perfect.
Space whale bugs. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as we get space whales, I'm a happy camper. But no, do you kind of see that they're essentially replicators, but in a more natural state?
Yeah, I can see that. It makes
kind
sense.
of act like it.
Yeah, they just take what they want, and yeah, I mean, I think it's weird that they kind of let humans breed, and then feed on them, and then okay, we'll go to sleep while they, like human cattle, I guess.
Well, like what
kind of what we do with fish, though, isn't it? We fish a certain area, and then we leave it alone for a while. And we let the population in that area recover, and we fish somewhere else for a bit, and then we come back. That's all they're doing. They're just letting their food supply recover, and then they come back and.
And is that one planet that we brought up earlier that does have little deal with the Wraith while they are hibernating and kind of feeding off of the villain, not the villains, just the criminal aspect of their society? Would that almost be like a fish pond? That's a stocked fish pond for them, just to keep going back to. Yeah.
That was a stupid episode. How crap. No, not because of the way the episode was structured.
Good concept.
How shit are the puddle jumpers? The criminals with just like a pea shooter shot one down. They're not very good.
They're the best vehicle and the worst vehicle in a way.
Well, it was kind of a stupid episode. I'm just watching
the Stargate. What else can they fit through a Stargate? You can't do better than that.
Yeah, but I mean, they take on bloody Wraith battle cruiser. And also, they're quite a tough little ship, unless you're firing a pea shooter at it. But anyway,
pea shooters are bad, man. They go fast.
They know the weak spot. Like in The Hobbit, remember there was like the one scale missing on the dragon that they had to shoot the arrow into. Anyway,
it makes sense because the story needs to happen. That's why it makes sense. People do this with Star Trek all the time. This doesn't make sense. It does make sense because the story needed to happen. But obviously sometimes they go too far. But modern Star Trek, sometimes they go too far. But
Mark just solved it. They're thousands of years old, the puddle jumpers. Not exactly in peak condition. Like Sarah said, they just shot the little Smaug spot on it, That's new headcanon.
Just to change the subject slightly, if anybody wants to get me anything nice for Christmas, Bumbu rum. Oh, it's fucking nice. That's what I'm drinking, by the way, and I'm already on about my third, which is maybe why I've brought up milking cows as much as I have.
Well, we went to milking cows to milking people to milking Wraith, so we've covered a trifecta.
And I did that like 3 times. That's 4 now, 5, which is never a good thing to do.
William brings up a good point here. The replicators' big weakness is that at least a portion of them want to find a way to ascend, exchanging mechanical bodies for ethereal ones. Unfortunately for them, never being able to do so. With the Wraith essentially being, living being versions of replicators, would they be able to ascend and maybe Anubis their own kind of have their own version of Anubis, I guess? Anubis, their part of the galaxy?
Well, technically, they should be able to ascend because any living being can, right? That's like a sentient living being. I'm just kind of making that assumption. So, but do they have, I don't know what it is, the ability to reach that level of, what do you call it, spirituality? Or
wouldn't it just be consciousness essentially, and trying to like raise your consciousness to that spirituality?
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you want? Come here.
Yeah, machines, replicators cannot ascend. They have no soul.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. They have to have a soul, but do the Wraith have because you have to have a good soul, right, to be able to ascend? Or I guess that would be no. I mean, what is like the criteria to ascend?
Eric brings up a good kind of caveat with what you're saying. Would maybe they become more like the Ori?
Can you hear that dog, or is it all right? Yeah,
it's not too bad though. It was like 1 or 2 barks.
Sounds like he might be going to the other room anyway. I'm gonna kill him. It's my friend's dog. It's not my dog. I apologize.
We're fans of Patty. When Anubis ascended, what happened to his host? Would that happen as well too? Because I guess at that point, was Anubis the one ascended, or is the host the one ascended, and then Anubis is still the Goa'uld parasite for that host that has ascended? That might be that weird little.
Yeah, it is the. Well, we've seen people. That's an interesting point. We've seen things and people ascend, and it does seem to be the body turns into energy.
Yeah, because we see that with Daniel. He turns into energy and floats off,
and the body disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So when Anubis goes up, does the host, because the host is still there, isn't it? It's just that Anubis is dominating the host. So the host must ascend as well. Or does Anubis just ascend and leave, but then the body stays? So because it's only Anubis's being that's ascended.
Right.
Okay. Theory, because I think they say that he's in both places. I think he can like be in both places at once. Yeah. And my theory now that we're talking about this,
that's right. He's gonna half in between or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we watched the episode in the diner and all that, and I'm pretty sure to say that in there.
Yeah.
So if
they're still connected somehow, aren't they? As well, they couldn't quite push him away. They said, didn't they? They couldn't quite get rid of him, so part of him was left. But they seem to be connected because Anubis knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So
I think
I would struggle to believe the Goa'uld soul, because I'm assuming the Goa'uld have souls as well. But I would think it would struggle to be the one to ascend. They could ascend using their host essentially, or finding a way to, kind of trick essentially the ancients or whatever being or whatever universal thing allows you to become an ancient into kind of saying, oh, this is the same soul, whatever. We know after that, of course, that kind of ethereal light is what the ancients are, and it's not necessarily a human body anymore, but it's kind of a human shape to a degree. And we know Anubis is kind of just made of that weird little ethereal aether or whatever,
Right.
Maybe the reason he still has a body and is able to wear a cloak over that instead of just being an ethereal little aether just wandering around is because that Gould parasite is still solid and is still sitting inside of the middle of that, and the aether sitting around it is just kind of a body around it, literally like a husk around the parasite.
No, we see him transfer, don't we? We see him transfer from host to host. The host starts to rot, and we see him transfer to a new one. It is just the ether, and that's what you get that wobbly effect is because it's like shield holding it in when we see him in the earlier forms when you just see a wobbly, like watery effect. But we see him transfer from one soul to one body to another at one point. I'm sure we do.
Right, like a partially ethereal form, like burns through bodies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the body can't think, so it just dies, so it rots the body eventually. But yeah.
So I guess that makes that little theory slightly iffy, but the continuation of it, I guess, for the ascended side, I guess, might still make sense because the host would have been the soul to technically, ascend. Maybe that's why he's able to be in both places at once. He still has
the reason why the ascended are so powerful is because they've got the power over matter and energy. So they can control, they can turn matter into energy and energy into matter, which is so the body turns into energy. But then that's why Daniel was able to come back because they turned him back into matter. So they returned his body to him. I think I think that's where their power comes from. And why they're such a powerful being is similar to the Q in Star Trek. That's really why they're powerful, is because they have control of matter over energy, and that's when it becomes less technology, almost like magic, and because they've got such exquisite control of that. So I don't think the parasite exists. The problem is I think they just try to force Anubis back, and this is I don't know why we're talking about this. Why do we go into this subject? And they tried to force Anubis back. But they didn't actually turn him back into matter. They were almost just like exiling him.
Yeah.
Energy, and thinking that would just get rid of it. Or actually not caring, I think was more the point. That they didn't actually care where he went or what happened, as long as he just wasn't there, sort of thing. He had to then find hosts and bodies to survive, sort of thing. But yeah.
I guess to round that back out, with all that being said and all those thoughts being here, if a Wraith were to ascend, would it follow a similar trajectory, or would you think it be more not natural or your average way of ascending? I guess I don't know if there is an average way of ascending, but
they don't really die, so
that's the thing.
Why would they ascend?
Would they be stuck in that like half kind of ascended state similar to Anubis, but in also probably more of a corporeal, not necessarily ethereal form, like a more corporeal form, because they are immortal naturally as long as they keep feeding?
I don't think they could ascend anyway. And again, I don't know where we're going. Because they're not, even though they are intelligent, they're so animal that would they be able to find enough, that awakening sort of thing, to ascend? Because they're even when they're intelligent, their intelligence is focused on
eating.
The animal instinct sort of thing. So I don't know if we saw a few intelligent Wraith, didn't we?
Totally.
So maybe one or two could, because they've got the intelligence. They just don't seem to have the desire to explore that side of things. It always seems to be.
Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting for Todd or Michael if we did come back with new Stargate, hopefully soon. Fingers crossed. Y'all watched the video Jay put out yesterday, because that might damper, but check it out anyway.
I'm the least confident, just to change subject completely, I'm the least confident about a Stargate reboot that I've been in 3 years. I think we had 6 chevrons locked at one point about 18 months ago. It was happening. And then the strike sort of put a poo-poo on it, and we've sort of seemed to dance around things a bit since. From what I'm being told, and the guy from MGM has not sort of denied it. It seems that this Sony deal is very possible, but the chances of a hard reboot are actually like 50-50 sort of thing. And if they do a hard reboot, and again, Amazon are in no rush to do it. So, I mean, I was always told it was like last summer, the sort of strikes changed things a little bit, but I was basically told if we didn't hear anything by last summer, then you can expect a hard reboot and it'll probably be in about 5 years. That's what I was told a couple of years ago. But then the strikes kind of changed that a little bit because it basically put everything on pause for a year.
Yeah.
So he sort of said, right, you know, summer 2023 has all of a sudden become summer 2024, really. So, so you know, so that happened, and then we're hearing this Sony deal as a possibility now, which has sort of delayed things again, which we're used to by now as gators. But I think that what that guy told me though 2 years ago is still true. That if all the momentum's gone out of it, there was so much momentum and so much interest in the reboot. You know, 3 years ago, it was trending on Twitter like every other week. Stargate reboot, we want Stargate something, but the momentum's gone. It's just there's not the excitement there was. And he says that is what as soon as I got to a point where their little computer data sort of showed them that the momentum was going, that was when the hard reboot becomes more likely, because it's much easier than a continuation or some sort of in-universe prequel or something. It won't be a continuation like what we want, like a Stargate SG-1 20 years down the line, because you know it's been nearly 20 years since the series ended. Something. It'll be some sort of prequel, because again, a prequel is easy. There's no rules. You're not stepping on anything.
Yeah.
But then it won't be a Stargate SG-1 sort of reboot. It'll be based around the Ancients or something like that. And I think his point 2 years ago is valid. You know, it's just like I think the momentum's gone, and that's the problem. And then it almost like frees Amazon to sort of go, well, what would work, because there's not going to be the same outpour that maybe there would have been 3 years ago, because there's an expectation. The expectation's gone.
Yeah.
Which again, maybe one of the reasons why they've delayed so much, because they're almost waiting for the expectation to go. But I think the movie plan was, I think they spent a lot of money on it. I think it got blown up by the strikes, and they just basically put it on pause because they're doing other things, and now.
And if you are going to do a hard reboot, you got to plan that out, and you got to plan it out, or way prequel with all the Ancients or the Ghouls and their first empire, or whatever you want to do, like the Jaffa becoming the Jaffa, the Ghoul, you know, spanning out and grabbing the Jaffa, or from the Unuses, or whatever you want to do, like that would take 3 years of planning minimum.
We're 2 years away from anything Stargate being on our screens, at least. Basically, we'll be 2 years away from when something is announced. It'll still take 2 years to get to our screens. Warhammer 40k is basically been announced now, virtually. Not quite. It's not official, but they're in the thing. That won't be on our screens till late 2026.
Oh yeah,
at the earliest.
Literally, all Cavill, I guess, almost said tweeted, but put on Instagram was just saying, "Hey, we're working on it. It will be a while, but we're working on it." And like you said, it's going to be 26, probably 27, maybe 28 more realistically, because he's got to do Voltron and he's got to film a few things first before that's ever.
Highlander is just going into production now, isn't it? And other things. So,
which that's going to be fun to follow.
I can't wait for Highlander. That's the thing I'm waiting for most. See, a hard reboot can work. I actually think Highlander is one of those things that a hard reboot, all day, completely makes sense.
Oh yeah, considering like the first movie was a little anyway.
Yeah.
It's easy to make that better. You know?
Well, it's an absolute classic, but you've got to argue that it's maybe a bit like Flash Gordon, which is the music really helped make it a classic, and obviously that was Queen as well. But the music was iconic. But they made the mistake in Highlander making a one-hit movie. They there can be only one was the thing, and then there was only one at the end, and you're like, and then it was massively popular, and the producers are like, oh crap, we've given ourselves nowhere to go. It's like,
how did Sean Connery come back for the second one again?
Yeah.
How did he do it? I don't remember.
Aliens.
Okay.
It was aliens.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Because it's awful. And then they basically did like a soft prequel with the series, which was quite good. And they just sort of went, let's pretend that the movie was a bit more in the future than it actually was.
Right.
And then that's how they did it, sort of thing. But yeah, it's just that they won't redo that problem. They won't redo that mistake in Henry Cavill's movie. There will not be only one at the end because they're like franchise, and everything's got to be a franchise. And to go back to Stargate, that's what I've always heard is like Amazon want this to be a franchise, and it's not just how do you bring back a new Stargate series. That's not the only question. It's how do we bring back a Stargate franchise, and that's a bigger question. And
so are they gonna? I mean, it feels like a hard reboot is gonna just alienate a lot of fans. They're just gonna be like, "No, we're not doing it." So are they thinking if they do a hard reboot, we're just gonna start from scratch and build a new fan base, or are they just hoping the fans will go along?
I'm thinking they're hoping the fans eventually will go along with it. But it's like we've always said that you've got this rings of power problem, and the negativity on social media now is a real issue with any project. It can kill a project dead. And that I think that was always their fear, and that was what I was always told they were scared of. But I think as time goes on, they're not as scared as they used to be, as they were maybe a few years ago. I think the problem was the Brad Wright project was greenlit by MGM before the sale went through, and that before COVID, and that got everybody really excited. And that momentum carried on through the sale going through. But now the expectation isn't there anymore. And again, like talking to a couple of people we get to talk to, it just feels like they know that if they wait another couple of years, there won't be anything like the outcry that there would have been maybe if they'd done this 12 months ago. If they do a hard reboot, because people won't. Like I said, the momentum's gone. We'll kick off, but there won't be the hundreds of thousands of. There may not be the outcry that there would have been.
Yeah,
we won't. Let's be honest. We won't be. 12 months ago, if they did announce they were doing a hard reboot, we'd have been all over YouTube going, this is a disgrace. I've done videos where basically I just said no hard reboot in as many different languages as I could, just as a joke. But now we've got to the point where it's just like, I take it. Just do something. I'd rather have a hard reboot and have another. It's almost having like a second bite of the apple, isn't it? We've got another chance to fall in love with the show if they do it good. But
I can see it working. I just think they're going to have everybody hating on it and not giving it a chance. I don't know if fans will be open-minded to it. That's the problem.
So, the two examples that come to mind.
I think it will. Yeah, I agree with you. So I think that is the problem. Sorry, Harris.
No. Just going off of that and just everything you were just saying. Of course, the two examples that come to mind. One is TBD. And one is that y'all are more familiar with. I've never really watched Battlestar Galactica. Need to. I know. But that was a super successful hard reboot. But like I think it was Popcorn Power earlier saying, for a successful reboot, you typically want that 20, 25 years. You want almost a next generation to come about and have that. Harry Potter is example number 2 that I was going to bring up. We don't know exactly how that's going to end up, but the excitement, people were, for the last year, people have just been poo-pooing on it, and in the last probably 2 or 3 months, I've seen nothing but excitement, especially from like big Potterheads that are actually really excited. Like, okay, well, of course we would have loved to have had the continuation of the films and seen what these guys would have been like with their children and done that. But this is actually getting the books fleshed out in their largeness. Would there be a chance that even the Stargate's, finest and craziest fans as ourselves and those that tend to watch, would we kind of change tune a little bit after time in that Harry Potter way? Like, well, okay, it might not be that full generation. Well, I guess 13 years, even with Harry Potter, people that were watching Harry Potter and read the original books and all of this stuff, their kids are going to be watching this new series. They might be young kids, but, they'll grow up watching it after they're probably catching up a few seasons when they're 7 or 8.
The thing with the Harry Potter, I say, is it's different because they're going from a movie to a TV series. And what the thing is, it's going to be 10 hours rather than 2. And it might even be more than that when they get into the later books. The Warner Brothers are sort of selling this in that we're going to be able to show you much more of the books than we did in the movies. So you're getting something a bit different in this, and we won't be redoing what we did in the movies to a large degree. We're going to see way more of the detail, so that's exciting fans. So it's a bit different. But I would actually argue Battlestar Galactica in the end was not a success.
It wasn't?
Not for studios, because again, they want a franchise. Blood and Chrome, I think that's what it was called, was completely bombed, the spin-off they tried to do. And by the end of the series, by season 5 or something, the audience had halved. It started as a massive success. It really, really did. I mean, to the point where you copied it, hands down copied it. It was winning loads of awards and everything, but it kind of fizzled out. And I'm still telling you, mate, the miniseries they did is still one of the greatest sci-fi things for the last 20 years. Hands down, it is excellent. I watched it again recently. It's excellent. The series never quite lived up to the miniseries for me.
Okay.
But it got more and more convoluted as it went on. Sorry, go on, Sarah.
Yeah. No, I just think it went on like too long. They probably could have shortened it a season or 2, and it would have been good. But I really enjoyed the series. It was, and it was the right time to do it because the 80s one was kind of cheesy. So they did it more like real hard sci-fi,
cool,
more real feeling, where that was kind of like the 80s version was more kind of like space adventure for kids kind of vibe.
I would actually argue that the movie was the 80s movie was better than the series as well. The original sort of double episode that started it, and then it sort of didn't. I suppose the problem is it's a complicated show to make because where do you really go with it? It's a bit like Star Trek Voyager as well. Voyager. It's kind of hard when a ship on its own trying to survive. A lot of the stuff that actually would be important, it's kind of boring. It's like, how are we getting enough water to drink? How are we getting a power supply? Oh, we need some medicine. This shit doesn't make an interesting story. But actually, I thought Battlestar Galactica did quite a good job with that because there was the Cylons and they were like sabotaging the water supply and things like that. It was quite good. But yeah, making a show like that is a bit difficult. One of the things with Star Trek Voyager was they did they said how many torpedoes they had, quantum torpedoes they had, and then they never said about, and they sort of said, we're going to be careful how many we fire because we can't replicate anymore. And then throughout the series, they fired a lot more than they said they would. It's like by series 3, they just went, fuck it, and just went nuts and just kept firing torpedoes everywhere. Battlestar Galactica was, I don't think that really did that. They tried to stay true to it, but yeah, by the end of it, it went all spiritual and stuff as well, and it just got really confused. Too many Cylon models came through. Too many main characters turned out to be Cylons as well in the end, and it's just like, this is going to be silly. But yeah, I would argue that maybe it wasn't as big a success. Even that was a reboot. Wasn't really a success.
Okay. Well, and as you said it, just because like that was the Harry Potter specifically is so much more room to expand upon stuff. I was thinking, well, this would we have so much more room to expand upon the stuff that the world that we know and love. You know, we already have all the world building there. If they want to just say, hey, all that world building is there, like all the species, all the aliens, everything like that, that's there. We're just gonna like actually do it functionally a little different.
Right.
We're not going to get 24 episodes a season.
No.
So no matter what we do, we're going to get technically less Stargate than we would have.
When Stargate returns, it'll be a streaming series. It'll definitely be 10 episodes. These shows now, mate, the expectation is, and it'll be the same for Harry Potter, the expectation is for it to be near cinema quality. And that's expensive. You can do it with a show like a cop show or a procedural drama and stuff. You can do it because it is actors on a set. It's not, you got the odd stunt and things, but a lot of it is just talking, in a sci-fi show or Harry Potter or anything like that. A lot of it is special effects and things like that. And it's time consuming. And that's why we don't get a season every year either, because it's so time consuming. But the longer it takes to make something, the more expensive it gets. So if it back in the day, they used to film an episode of Star Trek in about a week, and then I think they used to for a 6-month run, which was 24 episodes, so not quite 6 months, but was it 5 months? It would be on screen. They would work for 8 months of the year, so they were basically filming an episode roughly every 10 days, and then it was on the screen. Within about a month of them finished, it was on screen.
Yeah.
They can't do that now. It takes they're filming for 12 months or more. It's just not physically possible to then do a series every year. So it becomes more like 18 months. And then God forbid you're popular and the actors want to bugger off and do something else, and that's what Stranger Things has happened.
They start getting movie deals
back. Yeah, they all become movie stars. How do you get the actors back to make a series? So that makes it even longer. It's just like it's just not because this is because the expectation of us, and it's our fault. And you can look at this with Rings of Power. People moan and going, "Oh, it's not. The special effects are a bit shit." And I'm like, "Are you kidding? 20 years ago, this show would not have been possible. It would have been, wobbly sets in the background and things."
Yeah.
But now we're expecting it to be as good a quality as the movie that won 20 Oscars. It's just like, and we expect all our TV shows to be like that. The Orville has suffered with this. The first couple of seasons, people were like, "Oh, the sets and the CGI is a bit shit." So they spent a load more money, and then they realised, that actually the audience isn't big enough. So we spent a load of money, and we still got the same audience size we had before. We need to spend less money. But you also then have 3 years between seasons, which is a hard thing. But yeah, it's we're going to have the same with Stargate because it'll be expensive. It's going to be at least $5, $6, $7 million an episode. It is, regardless. And that would be basically if they just kept up with what Amazon spent on The Expanse.
I was about to say that's not even that bad of a budget compared to most shows nowadays.
I think if they'd have done the Stargate reboot 3 or 4 years ago, when Amazon first bought MGM, if they'd have just gone off, if they'd have just done it straight away, we'd have probably got a healthy budget, maybe $7-8 million. That was the first number I heard that they were going for. Another channel said that it was the Popcast guys said they'd been told by their source, which is when I stopped listening to them, to be honest. There was going to be $1 million an episode, and I'm like, you can't make anything for $1 million an episode. It's actually idiotic.
It's not feasible.
The Expanse is
with no budget at all, or more than that.
Well, The Expanse is considered to be a cheap. They really did get all the money on the show. Foundation as well, similar, isn't it? They said it's a beautiful film, beautiful series, but they really did well to squeeze so much out of the budget. And that was $4 to $5 million an episode, and so is The Expanse. Star Trek is $10 million an episode. It's just like at the moment. So, I mean, them saying $1 million an episode is just laughable. They also said that they're when the movie was done for SD for San Diego Comic-Con, that there was I'm just slagging them off here. I'm sorry, but there was already a trailer done, and there wasn't. I know for a fact there wasn't. So that was when I sort of stopped listening to him, because I thought, actually, you don't know what you're talking about. But where was I going with that? I forgot where I was going. I just started slagging off the podcast guys. I'm so sorry, guys. I know you do some brilliant content, make videos way better than we do, but
the return of Stargate, just in general.
Yeah. So I think we'd have got a budget of $8 or $9 million, but I think the world has changed now, and it will. All of I'm hearing 30% cut in all shows is what they're trying to achieve. A 30% cut in budget, unless you're like the top, unless you're Yellowstone sort of thing.
Yeah.
And those top shows of top 5 shows on a network, whatever. All the other shows are looking at 30% cut in budget. All of them, which is a lot to cut out of a budget of any series. So all of a sudden, you're looking at maybe $4 or $5 million an episode for Stargate.
Yeah,
that's going to affect the quality of the show. But I would argue, actually, that for a sci-fi show, Stargate. And I would argue Star Trek is the same, and they need to. They've forgotten this. That actually the characters are what's important.
In a
and
bit.
the CGI, the space battle stuff is fun. We like it, but it doesn't have to be a third of every episode. It's like.
While you were just saying all this stuff, you made me think, because I've been watching Falling Skies a whole bunch since that Colin interview, and I freaking love Falling Skies, especially some John Pope. Maybe my favorite character. Might be because I met the guy. I don't know. Could be biased. But it's a really good show, and it is securely focused on characters. There's some cool shit going on. Excuse the French again. But there's cool aliens. You got Doug Jones dressed up as Cochise walking around every now and then. Not all the time, but every now and then. Usually and that's the way to do it, too. You get an actor that's willing to do prosthetics. It's a decent name, if you can find one, that doesn't cost that much. And you let them go in that little playground and have fun. And you really, all you need to do in that case, he's got a big hood on. Maybe you need hands and a face. That's all you need to do for the actual character, which makes that a lot cheaper. If we could find ways to do that instead of these full CG characters again, it would be really cool. Or kind of like Dark Crystal did on Netflix, which that had a big budget, and that's not necessarily what I'm saying here, but whenever you use the practical stuff, we talked about it with Greg on the Radical Wasteland on Friday, because Fallout was doing a little bit of it, where you have that practicality. And then
they are with Skeleton Crew, aren't they?
The what?
A lot of the on Skeleton Crew, a lot of it is practical. You can tell it's not CGI. The character with the elephant head. I'm not sure that's CGI.
I don't think it is.
It's almost done badly because it looks real. And I know what they do a lot of the time now is they have part real, part CGI. So like the eyes will be CGI or something, and you see that with Deadpool, don't you? You see the mask. He's wearing the mask, but then he's got a cutout bit, and they just CGI the eyes with. But it looks real. A few of the second episode, they open the space doors into the pirate ship. There's a character there going, and it's like it's very clearly a puppet. And I'm like, if it's CGI'd, they've done it on purpose to look like practical effect. Which is probably cheaper than doing a practical effect, if I'm honest.
Bridge the gap save a lot.
I saw I forgot it's Seth Rogen. Not Seth Rogen. Yeah, Seth Rogen. That's right, isn't it? Not the podcast guy, the bearded fella that laughs. So he was talking about they did the series Priest. First series that is amazing. And they said the start of it is like this rocket ship is going, and it's supposed to look like a thing from the 1950s, like Buck Rogers sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it comes in and lands on Earth. That's how they started. And he said, we wanted to do that with practical effect. And the effects guy came back and went, that's going to cost $100,000 to do. And he's like, what? That's a big chunk of our, this was a small show. Like, we can't really do that for the opening secret. If we do it with CGI, it'll cost about 20. And they were like, okay. So they CGI'd it to look like a practical effect, and it cost a fifth of what it would have done. That's mad, isn't it?
Well,
I think making it look practical kind of fits Star Wars, though, because they did a lot of practical things. So
it's that Jim Henson in there.
Yeah.
That is the one. That is the one thing about Skeleton Crew I do quite like, actually. That it's a different. It's a slightly different look to what we've seen recently with Star Wars, but it looks more like the original Star Wars, which I quite like. So the I like where the directors or the showrunners going with that. I'm not sure I like the show yet, but I'm willing to give it a chance. I didn't like Mandalorian at first. The first 2-3 episodes, didn't like it. Got into it. No, didn't like it. I thought, oh, this is boring. It was too much of a... I know you like a slow burn, Harris. I don't. I like the first couple of episodes to grab me, and then they can do a bit of a, then they can do stuff. But I say that Andor was brilliant, and that was slow burn the whole way through. Yeah, it was beautifully done.
So good. I'm so excited for season 2. Skeleton Crew actually being decent, and I'm hoping, because we only get like not better necessarily, but really good filmmakers for each episode here on out.
Yeah.
If this and Andor are the next things we get for Star Wars, I'm hoping Lucasfilm has a little bit of a turn heel and realizes, hey, this is what's doing good.
Do that.
Also,
recent Star Wars, Mandalorian season 3 made no sense and was awful. Ashoka, I actually quite enjoyed in the end. I did quite enjoy Ashoka, even though I was not excited to watch the next episode, but I enjoyed it enough. I didn't. The last one that I forget the name of, I didn't get through the first episode.
Yeah.
Acolyte. I got about halfway through the first episode and I went, I'm not watching this. I have to watch these things for the show to come on here and talk to you sensibly about it. And I'm just like, Harrison, watch it.
At that point, I was like, I literally only kept watching because of it, because it was so
Yeah, I'll make Harris watch it.
Well, you did the whole watch party thing, so you had to do it.
We were doing the afterthoughts. We'd all get on there and we just, for the first 15 minutes, it's just until we got into like being angry and pissed off about stuff. And we're like, okay, well, this is how it could have been done better or whatever, because they have really cool concepts. That whole show is full of great ideas that are just not executed well.
Are we getting a second season of Ashoka?
We are.
I don't follow these things, but I don't follow Star Wars at all. I keep getting told things about Star Wars. And somebody go, "Oh, you're a sci-fi fan, aren't you?" And they'll tell me things that's going on, and I'm like, I don't care. I should actually tell you at least, but I don't care. They'll stop telling me now because I just don't care. But, I've never liked Star Wars.
But I guess back to the one thing that Star Wars did do well originally, and I guess that what we were just talking about is that kind of like mid-budget, practical, CG, et cetera, and what Falling Skies does really well, which would be nice if they did with Stargate, is honestly we don't need that amazing CG. Make it mid-budget. We understand if you're doing partial practical, partial CG, and you're just putting stuff on our screens that we've been asking for 13, 14 years by now.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to complain.
I think we're happy with SG-1 had, in the first couple of seasons, had very little CGI.
Very little.
Didn't have a lot.
No.
It was SG-1 running around a forest most of the time.
Yeah.
And sure, we're going to start off being a spacefaring civilization, but we can be inside of the ship. We don't have to like show these. And if you do show big planets or all kinds of things, it could be a 2 or 3 second little screen. It doesn't need to take 15 seconds. And
I mean, the other thing you can do what they did in Star Trek: The Next Generation. You have the sets, and you're like you said, you're on board the ship, and then you have those panning shots of the ship, but you reuse those shots throughout the season.
Jumping the light speed or whatever, you just keep reusing it. Yeah.
It's the same shot from a different angle or whatever. And with CGI now, you can do that quite cheaply. And you can do stuff so it's building the model, the CG model in the first place is quite expensive. So there's lots of ways you can do it without it costing a fortune. It's just that they don't tend to think outside the box. And things like Godzilla, we know that they can make big special effects movies quite cheaply if they want to. The problem comes in that a lot of the cost comes from filming for 12 months of the year rather than the actual CGI and stuff nowadays. It's that how long it takes to film stuff with CGI. But when you start having CGI characters, it gets expensive.
Well, even if you're going to do that, Godzilla -1 did, and Toho were very specific about having their CGI, their VFX director, I guess, on hand at all times alongside their actual director saying, okay, well, if you're going to frame the shot this way, just imagine the big giant 70-foot thing right over there, you know, and you got to frame it like this. And if they're there to help you frame both for your cinematographer and your director, you can solve a lot of problems and save a lot of budget if you're preparing purposefully instead of just getting there and saying, oh, well, we got the budget, so let's just point and shoot this way. We'll put it in post, which is not exactly what they're doing, but it happens. And it happens a lot more than we'd like to, claim, but it does happen a lot. And
we'll just throw money at it and that'll make it good. And it's just not.
But if you just keep it simple and purposeful, you can do so much.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, even in the first season or second season of Stargate, we had quite big CGI effects. But what they did was they didn't interact with the characters, sort of thing. The Asgard was about the only time, and even a lot of that was a puppet. And when you actually see actors interacting, so a matted shot where it's all CGI sort of thing is relatively cheap. It's when you then try to include real actors interacting with something CGI, it becomes expensive because it takes longer to film and the CGI has to be better, basically. But it takes longer to film because you've got the actor going, I've got to do this, and get it look right, you have to do it several times. All the preparation work, all the pre-production
different angles.
Yeah, exactly. So what they used to do in TV shows back in the day, Star Trek and Stargate used to do this, was you'd have the real actors in there, and then it would cut, and it's a total CGI shot, and then it would cut back. I remember Thor's hammer is a good example. So when the Asgard turn up and wipe out the gold motherships with their beam technology sort of thing, you have the actors sort of going, oh, and then it cuts to the Asgard, wiping out the Asgard. Then it cuts back to them going, oh. And I remember Richard, and it was Michael Shanks saying about, we realised after that episode, watching it back, that we needed to give the CGI people a bit more respect because there's this amazing thing happening and the Asgard thing being wiped out. And we just stood there going, yeah. And then they sort of walk away. Then we needed to sort of go, we needed to be a bit more like, whoa, that's amazing, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's but you'd be aware of that now. But that's much cheaper to do, and all you need is a creator, a director that's a bit more savvy and can spend the money. If you go $4 million an episode for a series like Stargate, you can produce something that's brilliant because you can produce something that looks like The Expanse.
Oh, easy.
You just need somebody right. I actually think one of the biggest problems with Star Trek is they've got too big a budget. That they're allowed to do too much, and then and I think they're spoiled for it. And so then they think, well, we've got to do this because we've got the budget for this. And actually, the fans are like, I'd like this is okay. And actually, you go too far a lot of the time, and I don't need the ship to spin around again. It's fine. And so we like the character stuff a bit more.
Good acting, good writing.
Yeah, it's actually not rocket science. It's the problem I think comes a lot is that they're forced to sort of go, you've got to do something different. What we're doing is different. And I'm like, actually, you know what? Audiences, we're not that. Well, so I was going to say we're not that intelligent. I don't think we're that.
Depends.
Well, yeah. I don't think with that. I think there are like 6 or 7 basic stories that we like, and the characters. You don't get that. There's not that many different types of character. We just want them to be written well.
It's all the hero's journey.
Go on. Sorry.
It's all the hero's journey. I was just adding to it.
Yeah, it's all the heroes. Yeah, exactly. So they don't have to complicate it by always saying we've got to do something different. We've got to do something different. It's just like, no, you don't. I think that was like one of the problems with sort of like The Matrix. So The Matrix, the first one came out, it blew us away because it was all special effects we'd never seen before, and everyone was copying it for years after. But then in each film, they want, we've got to do something, we've got to blow people away again. And I'm like, you didn't need to. Actually, you could have just told a story.
Better, simpler in a way,
Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid.
Legit. Kiss. That's the best rule ever.
Yeah. And I'm just like, they don't need to. And again, we're to blame a lot of the time because we'll go, Stargate Universe, you could argue. I was going to say that up. So Atlantis is basically an improvement on SG1. They took the formula for SG1 and they just did it a bit better. But Stargate Universe went, we've got to do something different. But then audiences kicked off because they went, this is different. Don't like it. I did. When I first started with Stargate Universe, I was like, where's the wisecracking commander? I don't get it. I like it more now watching it back than I did then. I didn't like it at first. So I was like, this is an SG1. I had a bit of a baby strop about it.
Well, like we've said before, it was a little ahead of its time, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2 or 3 years later, that show would have gone on Netflix, and it would have got 7 or 8 seasons.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Well, you just brought up a few different points. Mid-budget and all that is like, I guess, the encapsulating point of it all. But something that would make that mid-budget make a lot more sense nowadays, which Stargate might actually not be great about doing, but it does it in its own way. This is more for everything else. There's a video I saw 2 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks ago. I just saw that it released 2 weeks ago, and it's by Tail Foundry. I haven't watched it just yet, but I've been meaning to. It's called In Defense of Low Stakes Fiction. That's all I know about the video, but like that's all I want to know in a way too. Is of course I'll watch it and check it out, but everything's got to be world ending, planet ending, nationwide ending.
Bigger.
It's going to destroy New York, destroy San Francisco, destroy Tokyo, something like that.
Thing is, we've seen it though, haven't we? We've seen every monument, every famous building blown up in 2 or 3 different ways. We don't need it anymore. Okay, we want you want one big Hollywood blockbuster a year, I think, where you go, some big movie. But the problem is, I think all the studios want every movie to be a big Hollywood blockbuster. And I'm just like, no, we get bored of it, which is why Marvel has had trouble, because they go bigger. And I'm like, no, we don't want it. It's like Iron Man wasn't big world-ending stuff, and it's it's our favorite movies. Build up to a big, world-ending, big Hollywood blockbuster, but then you've got to go back and start again and build up again. Ant-Man, the first one is way better than Quantumania because it kept going big. Just tell a good story. Don't put rules on it or expectations on it to begin with. The executive producers, the producers are always there going, what's different? What's bigger? How's it different? And I'm like, don't. Come up with a story that makes sense and go from there. And that's what Stargate needs to do.
Yeah.
And that's why the Wraith are the best villain. I don't know.
Yes. No.
There, see, we tied it all together.
It's the weave. It's the weave, mate. I was going to bring it all back.
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's like...
Sorry, I amused myself. I'm sorry.
The keep it simple, stupid, the mid-budget, the minimize, just do something with purpose, I guess, the creative aspect of it all, instead of just spending a bunch of money for the sake of it. It kind of just brings us back to, I don't know, not a bygone era. I'm not trying to say a bygone era or anything, but like we need a bit of old in our new, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's a complete thought just yet, but there's a thought forming. There's a thought forming there.
Bloody Americans! Think before you speak. I mean, come on. You wouldn't catch me speaking before I've thought it through. Okay,
Chasing rabbits.
Yeah, we are. We are, though, aren't we? That's the thing.
That's what we always do. That's why you got to put on the banner. You got to have rabbits.
For half this freaking episode, I had "Welcome to M Cubed" on here, and I looked down. I was like, "Go back."
To go to the Wraith though, then here's the question. Get back to the Wraith before we wrap this up, because I want to go soon. Oh my God, it's what time? So who had the better ship, Skullwald or the Wraith?
Oh, Wraith.
Easy, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
Wraith. For the actual sake of the video topic, of course, we can talk Stargate all day and reboots and all this, but for the actual sake of the video topic, I really do think the Wraith are the best villains because they combine a bit of the Goa'uld and the Replicators and bring it into a more natural sense. And they kind of bring your blah, 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 blah kind of villain into Stargate as well, which is always just fun. And they
were
look
scary. The dudes with no face, like the bee, the worker bees. They were genuinely quite scary.
Yeah, they're definitely the scariest villains.
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
The villains are not so much because they were a bit silly, but the worker bees were like, and they were big dudes, and it's like, I like it out.
Well, and we got off topic a little bit, talk about Anubis and the whole ascension thing, but that just makes them that much scarier in the fact that they could probably ascend the same way we do, and in the same way Anubis does in a way. And then also, just thinking about their ships again, they're Leviathans that are technically living sentient beings that are smart and capable of like surviving, and they have a soul as well. Can their frickin' ships ascend? Like, I don't know. They've just created such an interesting society, especially within the rules and regulations of the Stargate world that we know of.
Right.
Were they a more, think from it like a Brad Wright position then? Were they a more thought through villain than the Goa'uld? Because the Goa'uld, if you think about the Goa'uld and them being gods thing, if you think about that for too long, it starts thinking, I'm not sure this makes sense. This might be a little silly, especially as they're all like Earth gods. So at some point, all of those Goa'uld on all these different planets were on Earth at some point to influence our society. I'm like, well, that's not what you've said previously. So, I mean, if you think, but the Wraith was sort of seemed to, I think it's that thing we were saying where it was Stargate Atlantis was taking the Stargate SG-1 formula and just doing it a bit better. I think they did the same with the villain. They came up with a villain. They went, okay, what's scary? Vampires are scary. Well, okay, let's start there. Let's make them make sense. So, and the whole thing about them, I've always thought from Marvel, Thanos was the great villain because he didn't know he was the villain, and he's not like inherently evil. And I think that's where the Wraith come in as well, because they're not inherently evil. They think of us as cattle, so they don't care about us. And they are brutal and they're vicious and they're thing, but we are, and I could just see them like going. It's almost like it's our worst quality of humanity personified into a boiled down and put into an evil being, and that's maybe why they're quite so scary, because maybe we see a bit of ourselves in them. And so they are the best villain. As the Goa'uld are almost funny. You'd almost, by the end of it, you pitied them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by the end, Ball is one of the best because he's comical. He plays into it. He knows how people think of him at that point. He's like, well,
like really leaning into kind of like comic book villain almost.
Wow, and sort of thing. But it's just such a brilliant actor. So, they were that he was. The comedy between Ball and O'Neill was what made that character, wasn't it? That they just bounced off each other so well. The Wraith were far more scary than the Replicators as well. The Replicators again weren't really thought through. I think, and I don't want to be mean to Brad Wright here, but I think Stargate basically looked at Star Trek and went, "We need a Borg type thing." The Borg are quite popular. We need something like that. And that's probably possibly where the thought process started for the replicators. And it got really confused over a bit of time. And I think when you start getting into like the nano replicators, occasionally some of the storylines got a little bit confusing. But or the replicators as a thing got a bit like, I'm not sure this makes sense. And then obviously it went to Atlantis, and we're like, well, the replicators were popular. We need to bring them back again.
But then Pegasus did a better version of the replicators too. You know, like.
Yeah, I would argue that. Yeah, but it made more sense. They thought it through a bit more. But that's where the Gold, I think, are the best, was because they thought through a bit more. But I'm going to be controversial and actually say I always thought the Ori were the best villains. I know that people didn't like season 9 and 10 of SG1. I really, really did.
I do as well. I think they are probably the most meaningful. I think the Wraith are the best villains still, but I would think the Ori are the most meaningful Stargate villains because it legitimately is like all of Stargate history coming back to bite itself real quick. Yeah.
I liked how it was like circular and the way it did it, and we learned so much more about the ancients and things like that. I really liked those 2 seasons. I didn't think it ended great. I will say that the Arc of Truth could have been better. Yeah. And obviously, and Peter Moore has just been very it was Marina Baccarin, who is one of the hottest women to ever be on screen. Somebody said earlier that they should get Taylor Sheridan to write Stargate, and I'm like, I think we've already had that because it's called Firefly. It's like Cowboys in Space. That's what we'd get, wouldn't it? If Taylor Sheridan did it, we'd get Cowboys in Space. Let's be honest.
I'm down.
Yeah, Yellowstone Stargate crossover.
Perfect crossover. Yeah. Come on, Taylor. Do us a remake of Firefly. That would be wicked.
John Dutton's children are recruited by the United States Air Force to lead Stargate.
Yeah. Well, we've had Yellowstone 1920, whatever it is, and 16 thingy. We need Yellowstone 2342.
Exactly.
There you go.
The future.
Peter's totally off topic. I'll never be over Firefly.
Oh no, we need more.
Here comes the rabbits again.
Do you know what? It's screwed. I was talking to somebody. Nathan Fillion was really trying to get a Firefly reboot. During the strikes, that's all he did basically. And you know what screwed it? Feckin' James Gunn has completely screwed it because he's got Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion's going to be doing some Warner Brothers stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so he's going to be doing. He's going to be one of the Green Lanterns, and he's going to be appearing in
Guy Gardner, I believe.
Yeah. Basically NBC. Universal threw a shitload of money at him. He's going to be producing a spin-off of The Rookie. That's basically just Rookie, but he's going to be producing. But the last thing I heard was Nathan Fillion was putting a pin in Firefly to focus on doing the Warner Brothers stuff. So part of this deal for him to stay with Universal and do The Rookie was that he was going to get to do Firefly. And he's just not going to have time. Because Nathan Fillion is one of those actors, he doesn't like working constantly. He likes to have his time off. So he just simply can't do both.
Kill off Green Lantern. There's so many Green Lanterns already. Kill them off. We want Firefly.
But I was gutted when I was told that there was a pin put in Firefly. Because apparently it was in principle, it was agreed. It was in principle, it was going to happen. It was going to be a series of 3 TV movies, basically.
That was when Favreau was talking with him too, right?
Yeah.
Would they get all the people to come back? I mean, I know the movie killed off what's his name, but
well, apparently they were even going to bring back Wash, but it was going to be like almost like a ghost sort of thing or something, or his memory. And it was basically going to be Wash because apparently the basic storyline was going to be initially you see Mal and he's broken. He's on his own. He's lost the Firefly, and by the end of the first one, he gets the Firefly back. But he's haunted by everything that's happened, and that was going to be personified by Wash's character. talking to him, and like
Right.
almost like he's almost gone mad sort of thing. And then over the 3 movies, it was going to be his redemption. That was going to be the story arc, and characters were going to come back through. That was the general idea, but it was only Nathan Fillion's story idea. It's Nathan Fillion that's got this story idea he wants to do.
I hope they do it. That sounds awesome.
Well, yeah, but the bloody James Gunn has shot it in the foot in the next couple of years at least. But yeah, apparently there was an agreement in place. Disney has sort of agreed because there's basically Universal own the movie rights to Firefly, but Disney still own the TV rights. And they were going to do a TV movie, or basically a straight to streaming movie trilogy. And apparently they did sort of go to Disney and go, this is technically, we've got a movie rights, but it's cinema movie really. But they're sort of gone, yeah, okay, we agree, we're not going to fight you on it, sort of thing. So apparently it was all lined up. And then James Gunn offered him the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, it's still on the
James
road
Gunn.
somewhere.
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to cut this into a video, by the way, because I've been meaning to do a video on that for ages, and I keep forgetting to do it.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. I'll message Chazz right after this. I think he actually just got home. Give him something to do after a little week of vacation.
So 1 hour, 27 minutes, I stopped talking about it. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Probably 120 to 27, something like that.
Texan.
You brought up a point just with the way I guess Nathan Fillion's handled the idea with Firefly. That was the thought that I trailed off on earlier that I couldn't remember, and it was kind of the continuation of the topic earlier, where it was just the mid-budget, all that kind of stuff accumulating to Hollywood needs to go back to talk about a rookie, back to rookie phase. Like literally, whenever filmmakers get out here, young people that are like, "Hey, I want to do movies and make movies and write movies," they're all like, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" Well, I have this cool sci-fi idea. Oh, well, that's going to cost $150 million to make. Oh, well, I've got this cool horror movie idea that's going to cost $80 million to make. Oh, I've got this to make. You come out with these big ideas. You have to start small to be able to get to those larger places. And I've kind of struggled with that with the writing things that I have, because of course I have a lot of fun little concept things that I just jump off and dive into. But you got to start with the simple things like, okay, this could be shot in a bar for $15,000. And that would be, if you do that well, you hire a good actor, you do it right, you direct it right. Hey, next time you get $75,000 and a field. Now go make a soccer movie or something. And so you kind of evolve from that.
Soccer.
A lot of
soccer,
football.
a movie about socks. I don't understand.
Any football, the American or the outside.
Oh, football. Oh,
What
okay,
a sport.
football movie. Okay. The sport where you actually use your feet rather than the American football where you carry the ball. I'm with you.
Yes.
No. You used a word I didn't understand.
But I guess, like, just long story short, just it'd be, once again, I guess long story short is the purposefulness. We need that purposefulness back again. And if you can have that purposefulness without overspending on the budget for the sake of it, and utilizing the budget purposefully, for lack of a better term again, we could be back in a good area of film and TV, and Stargate could be the people to do it. They have to greenlight it and get going with it.
Somebody just needs to have a good idea. I genuinely think that's the biggest problem with Stargate, in that they've gone, we want to do a Stargate reboot, and nobody's come up with the right idea that's convinced. And to be fair, people will have a go at Jennifer Salke mainly because of Rings of Power and a few other things. But to be fair, with Stargate, from everything I've heard, she's the one that's been going, no, that's not good enough. We need something better than that. And she said, no, that's not right. We need something better than that. And that she's always had the position of, we're not doing it unless it's right. And that I can't, I'm like, I would rather not have Stargate than have something that's shit, basically. If they bring back a series and it's awful, it'll be such a waste of time, and it'll never take away from the original. It'll never take away from SG-1, but it'll just be such a shame and such a wasted opportunity. You're just like, well, and it will kill the franchise forever.
Yeah. Right.
You know, we can't have Quantum Leap. However clever the soft reboot of Quantum Leap was, it was done badly. And even though it did get the second half of the first season got a little bit better, but the second season just kicked off right where the start of the first season was, and it was just bad. You know, and it's just like, we can't have that. If it's going to be done, it's got to be done properly, or don't bother. Just leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never said that before because we're so desperate for it to come back. But actually, I would rather they just didn't do it if they're going to do it badly. But it does seem that Jennifer Salke, who does sign off on everything, she is the final word on everything that MGM Amazon do, from what I'm told. And she's just not heard an idea that she thought was good enough.
For the sake of devil's advocacy, and to continue, I guess, the point you were making earlier about just how everyone wants to make prestige television now. Everything's got to be prestige television. If you're not shooting for an Emmy, why are you making it, you know?
Yeah.
Stargate never really shot for Emmys.
No.
It was
Do we have to?
entertaining. It was, they shot for entertaining.
What if that new series that Jennifer Salke's not greenlighting is entertaining?
Oh yeah,
But
know,
it's
that
not
is
prestige television.
Yeah. My point is a two-edged sword.
Yeah, that's
because
kind
on
of.
one hand you could go, she's saying no because it's not good enough, and if the story ideas that are coming back aren't good enough, then we could say, well, thank God for Jennifer Salke not letting them do it.
100%.
But what if her idea of what Stargate should be is not what we think Stargate should be, and she's waiting for.
She wants the next Game of Thrones or The Boys or this big thing she's used to that's like, oh, well, Rings of Power puts us in Game of Thrones just conversation naturally. We want that. That's not what Stargate is. Yeah.
We need to have an idea of what actually Stargate needs to be. But apparently the Mike Wright guy over at MGM Plus, everybody I speak to says he's passionate about this, he desperately wants to do it. And I think he does take her. He's desperate to do it, but I know at least one of the concepts that sort of got quite far down the line. He hated from day one, and that didn't happen, luckily. But I don't know what his position is at the moment. I have somebody that tells me sort of what goes on, but I haven't spoken to them in a while.
Well, because MGM Plus sounds like it might be going under the wayside.
I think MGM Plus is going. Yeah, I think they're giving up on that. They seem to be completely. Amazon seem to be completely changing their business model, and just going to throw everything into Amazon Prime by the looks. They seem to want to. Well, they've had this idea of being like a hub that had load of little logs on, but then the credit crunch happened, and everyone's like, "I'm not having 4 or 5 different streaming services." So I think it's forced them to go, oh, okay, then we need to be a Netflix then. Yeah. So I think the add-ons will disappear slowly over the next 12 months. Well, MGM, I think we saw the first sign of that when I dropped the video last month, or was it like a year ago now, saying that MGM's budget wasn't going to increase.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when we started talking about just the budget for Stargate and what it would be. That maybe we don't need that big old prestige fancy TV. Like, give us the smaller budget and do more with it, you know? Yeah. It'd be cool to see.
But we'll have to see.
Stargate -1.
It'll be interesting to see if they produce it. It'll just be interesting to see what they do with it. If they do just go basically into Prime, and they just try to have like a Netflix, sort of one channel. I think that's the way they're going. And again, maybe that's another reason why sort of Stargate is getting delayed. There won't be just one reason why these projects getting delayed. It's because there'll be there's other things going on, sort of thing.
Well, yeah. Stargate? Let's say it did get approved for MGM Plus, and Mike Wright was able to start jumping on it, and we had all that happen. And then, as economics happen, MGM Plus goes by the wayside. They say we're going to put this on Amazon Prime like usual. We'll continue the series.
Yeah.
Well, is Michael Wright still in charge because he was the MGM Plus guy, or is it Prime? Does that mean we're going to have
he's not just the boss of MGM Plus, mate. He's got about 6 different job titles.
Okay.
So he's quite integrated into Amazon now. He's got 2 or 3 things he does.
I guess he's just a placeholder name. Anybody that would have been involved in that, of course, you'd have some carryover, but it might not be the exact same team. Which, what would that have been in a season 2 or season 3 or season right after season 1? I don't even know. Like that alone would have been really interesting timeline wise, and probably would have been pretty disheartening for us as a fan base, or at least thrown us off a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing is that I think we can trust with Amazon though, is that they do tend to stick with stuff. Once they start making something, they tend to stick with it. I mean, you could argue The Expanse was never really groundbreaking. It was never, from a figures point of view, like the people that loved it, freaking loved it. But it was never appearing on the Nielsen list. It was never tearing up any trees from a profit point of view. But they stuck with it until it got to a point where it sort of made sense to sort of stop, really. They do stick with projects, even if they're not, maybe doing as well as they'd like. But also, I suppose that's not really true in the fact that even though there's a show like The Expanse maybe didn't get on the Nielsen list, it was rewatched a lot.
Yeah,
so, I mean that's more important than first week figures to somebody like, which is why Netflix love shows like Star Trek, because people continue. It doesn't cost much to buy. People watch it over and over again.
Or Friends, or any sitcom like that.
I saw Disney. A guy was talking to me that is sort of in and around Disney, and he sort of said one of the shows that they absolutely adore is What We Do in the Shadows, and they're really going to make a big deal of the 5th season. And the final season.
It's just ended.
Yeah, well, it's coming to an end more because of the creators. And actually, but Disney would like, you can keep doing this forever. It doesn't cost a lot to make. Okay, it's not got like a huge fan base, but it's got a fan base that'll watch it over and over again. I think I must have watched that season about 3 times. And I will just sit and watch it because I think, there's nothing on. I'll start What We Do in the Shadows again. And it's just one of those series that I've watched more than once, sort of thing. And that's streaming services love that.
Oh yeah,
that's like the holy grail for them. It's a show that the dream is a show that's massively popular and people watch over and over again, obviously. But if it's popular enough and people watch it more than, and you've got a fan base that's like really like a cult fan base, streaming services love that. Stargate would be that if they make a decent show. It doesn't have to be top 10 Nielsen rated to do well.
Although we'd be pushing on here as much as we could, we'd be screaming at the rooftops trying to make sure it is.
Well, it's one of the reasons why it's definitely going to happen at some point, though, mate. Because Stargate SG-1 is still a really good, profitable show for Amazon. It's a profitable show. It still is shown in like 60-something countries, and it's still, they keep moving it around and putting it on Pluto and things like this because every time they do, people watch it again, and it makes more money. So it will happen at some point. It's just when.
Yeah, I think it needs a bit of a catalyst for a younger audience as well. I think the pandemic was good in finding some. Myself, obviously, being one of those people that has completely fallen in love with it ever since. But someone like Chazz joining the channel, that's great because he's 27 and getting into it. That's like a young kind of thing. But we need that like 18 to 25, 18 to 30 kind of range to get interested in it immediately. And then if it was going to be trending every 3 days on Twitter a couple years back, it could be trending every 30 minutes on Twitter and everything else. If that's the case, if you have that younger demographic, which would be nice, I'm not going to pronounce the name, but Sarah is cute by. I'm not going to say that. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that.
Don't.
me and Harris are cute too.
We try.
I'm adorable.
Also, in the middle of your entire
Where's that dog again?
At the cute dog.
I started laughing saying at like an inappropriate time, I just started laughing because I looked over and I saw "Only Here for Your Life Force" under Sarah's name. I just couldn't.
So anyway, the Wraith. Now
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it a night, chaps, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
The Wraith are absolutely terrifying. I think they are
They're the best.
they're the villain.
The best
Yeah.
thought through
The
as well.
scariest, the one you don't want to run into. Yeah.
Logical as well. They're actually logical, which is nice. They actually make sense.
They're logical and animated. This happens every 20 minutes, and I'm shocked it hasn't happened while y'all have been on the thing. Every time I walk out of the room, I have to scream at cats. They're literally both just napping back there. That's so fun. But anyway, thank y'all. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Anything before we hop out, y'all?
No, I think we're good. We just got to decide what villain we're. Anyway, the charity stream next Wednesday.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Charity stream on the 18th. The three of us will be there, of course, and we will hopefully have some other guests as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do the same thing we did last time. So we're going to watch the best and worst episodes of it, but we're also Stargate Atlantis, excuse me. But we're also going to add a little bit more hump to it, a little bit of fun. There might be a gift card to win for the person who donates the most, I believe, is what we've decided upon. And I think we might do some quizzes and some other little fun things throughout. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good one.
I can maybe throw in a couple of T-shirts and things if people are willing. I've got T-shirts from over the years that I've worn and I've got my sweat on them.
You could sign them as well.
I could get a pen and sign them. I tell you what, who would want my signature?
The people who donate the most.
All right, but I will put them together, and I've got a couple of T-shirts that will never be recreated. That we could give to somebody if they would like to bid on them. There you go. We'll do that.
That'd be a really cool one. Yeah.
You've just got to be a certain size if you want to wear it. Come on, little.
Yeah.
But I will even send it to America if somebody donates enough money.
Well, you guys got to get me some merch. I want to buy some, but
we don't do merch at the moment, do we?
I know, and I'm going to Emerald City Comic Con merch, and I want to have merch to wear while I'm there. Right.
Well, Sarah, you can pick the first T-shirt, and then the others will go, and I will send it across to you. Okay? Because I'm a medium in English. That will be fine for you. You'll be right. Just put it on a boil, wash it, shrink it if you need to.
We don't need to jump into it, but that Luigi stuff, there are too many jokes that are going to be able to happen. I already have a really funny skit I want to make out of it. Like, it's bad. It's too good. Anyway, y'all heard it from the horse's mouth. 18th. Charity it up. We're probably thinking. I think Toys for Tots is what we've officially decided upon. So Toys for Tots for Christmas stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Right. Just before Christmas, that'd be amazing. Yep, do that.
So support the youngins as much as we can. While doing so, hopefully we can get them to watch Stargate. That'll be our trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
If you get Star Trek,
send them a present. You can only have it if you can tell me the name of Jack O'Neill's son.
You have to get your present. You have to finish this sentence. Jaffa.
Yeah.
Creek.
The X303's name is. No, I wasn't. Still boy. And then get me present. There you go.
Beat the kids. I'm kidding. Yeah. Don't do that. What? All right. Before we start saying silly stuff again, we'll jump out of here. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all soon.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Addy. Oh, I almost just ended the stream without doing our magic.